and he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Trader Green, unendorses her over and
Trader
over.
Brown. He changed her.
It was so lazy too. He says because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now.
Progressive commentator Adam Mockler recently appeared on Abby Phillips' CNN program for a panel discussion featuring political analysts Joe Belli and Banner Lyman. The segment focused on emerging tensions within Republican leadership, specifically examining public disagreements between Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and former President Donald Trump. In this video, we'll analyze key moments from the panel discussion and provide context on this developing political story. If you're finding this content valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers and appreciate your support in reaching that milestone. Let's examine the discussion.
Is MAGA cracking? One of the president's most loyal followers for a decade says that she is resigning from Congress after a bitter fallout with President Trump. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very vocal about what she thinks the president is doing wrong lately, from the economy to trying to get the Epstein files hidden. And in turn, Trump has called her a traitor and unendorsed her ahead of a primary. Well, now Greene says that she is resigning effective January. And here are some of the reasons why.
Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience. America first should mean America first and only Americans first. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
An extraordinary development for one of the main characters of the Trump era, frankly. And I should just note, just a few minutes ago over at ABC, Rachel Scott spoke to President Trump, and he called Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation great news for the country. He said she didn't give him any heads up about it. Joe, I mean, can you imagine that this has ended this way? And is this a sign that MAGA is really starting to crack up over many things, but perhaps the Epstein files being one of the biggest things?
I definitely didn't have Trump getting along with Mamdani and him being against Marjorie Taylor Greene on my bingo card going into
none of us did.
None of us probably did. But I'm one of those people who is not entirely upset to see her go. You called her a character just now. You basically phrased her as a character. I think after 4 years in Congress, you either have to make the choice, have you become a statesman or a stateswoman, or have you become a cartoon character? And I think she realized that she was going down that latter path. She tried to rebrand herself. Remember, I mean, you're not a conservative in going on The View unless you're trying to remake yourself as this new person. She's tried to go on The View. She tried to say that she's no longer this divisive person, but someone who made a career of only being divisive to be divisive. I just think it's going to be no hard loss on the Republican Party.
I feel like that was fine when she was supporting Trump, but now all of a sudden it's not.
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene is realizing for the first time what it's like to be on the opposition side of Trump. She has clapped him on for years as he has over and over used the same vile rhetoric towards Democrats, towards other Republicans. But now she takes a principled stance for the first time and decides, I'm going to split with him on the Epstein files. And he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Trader Green, unendorses her over and over.
Marjorie Brown. He changed her.
It was so lazy too. He says because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now. He calls Marjorie a traitor, says he wants to execute or hang Democrats, and now Marjorie.
You've answered the question that you asked about whether MAGA is fracturing. The truth is, MAGA is not fracturing. If Donald Trump couldn't simply unendorse someone and that'll eliminate her chances of being there, that's only because the majority of people, whether they're in her Georgia district or elsewhere in the country, are going to follow President Trump.
Well, it hasn't eliminated her chance. She didn't get an endorsement the first time.
This is an entrenchment of MAGA,
she wasn't endorsed the first time by Trump,
a fracturing.
Do we think that this is the end of her political career?
No, I don't think so, but people are saying that. And you said that she tried to rebrand herself. I think that she's tried to rebrand herself a few times since she's been in office, whether it was, okay, I believe in conspiracy theories first, and then I want to be a team player, and now she's rebranding herself, which to me isn't her being a character. It's actually her saying, for whatever reasons, it's actually her saying, I'm caring about the people that I represent. I'm looking for my constituency, and I want to help them. So I don't think her career is over. However, this this is highly unusual. It does not happen. And if it does happen, it's usually because somebody is sick or there's something else going on. And in my opinion, like I truly believe she has a future, a bright future. Where she lands, who knows? But she did this knowing full well what it meant. I don't think that she took this lightly and said, I'm leaving, because I just feel like leaving.
But there are other cracks in the MAGA coalition right now.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not just talking about the Epstein files, which is a big issue, and the entirety of the House and the Senate, save for one person, voted to release them, which despite Trump flip-flopping at the last minute, he clearly doesn't want these files out because he's been very opposed to it. But the economy, she's been saying, and she said in her video tonight, the economy is not working for regular people. Prices are too high. Not enough has been done about it. She doesn't think that the president is addressing that issue. And more Republicans are starting to say that too. So there are some cracks. And is Trump going to actually address that, or is he just going to go scorched earth on everyone?
So I don't think that is a crack in the MAGA coalition and the MAGA party. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene identified legitimate frustrations that not only MAGA and conservatives have, but anybody who wants their government to actually function. Everybody has those same concerns because the gridlock in Congress has gotten to a point where nothing gets done. And I think what Marjorie Taylor Greene is also hitting on frustration-wise is that we have a Republican majority, we have a trifecta. What have we gotten from it? There are Republican voters, low propensity Republican voters. They don't like to turn out. Democrats turn out better. And they turned out last November. They delivered this majority. What do we have to show for it right now?
And why are we still arguing? Why are we so mad?
Wouldn't Republicans say, oh, well, it's the tax cuts? I mean, I think this kind of puts that strategy right squarely on the table.
Yeah.
The tax cuts were what they spent all of their political capital on in this year. And voters are basically still saying they don't think that they're better off.
Well, and I think voters are saying that they're not better off when they think of one of the reasons Donald Trump appealed to people last election is people remember 2017 through 2019 under President Trump prior to pandemic, what the economy felt like. Things are trending in the right direction under Donald Trump, but that is not to say that there are still pains. For example, the wages, your average paycheck can pay for 1% more. Now, I'm not saying, wow, lucky us, 1% more. What I'm saying, though, is that is an indicator things are trending in the right direction, but it's not tangible. People don't feel it. And if Republicans cannot bring tangible solutions by November, they're going to lose.
This panel discussion raises several important points worth examining. Brianna Lyman's observation about legislative productivity has merit. Congressional approval ratings have consistently reflected public frustration with the pace of governance, regardless of which party controls Congress. Political scientists have documented how partisan gridlock often prevents substantive policy implementation, leading to voter dissatisfaction across the political spectrum. Adam Mockler highlighted an interesting dynamic: the political climate's impact on public service careers. Recent data shows federal workforce recruitment challenges, particularly in roles that have become politically contentious. Positions like air traffic controllers and election workers, traditionally viewed as non-partisan civil service, have faced unprecedented scrutiny. This raises questions about how political polarization affects institutional stability and whether it discourages qualified candidates from entering public service. The discussion also touched on legislative effectiveness. Independent analyses from organizations like GovTrack and the Lugar Center regularly assess congressional productivity through bill sponsorship, bipartisan cooperation, and legislative outcomes. These metrics provide objective measures of whether elected officials are advancing policy goals. Joe Belly's comments about Representative Greene's legislative record can be verified through publicly available congressional data, which tracks bill introductions, committee work, and voting records for all members of Congress. The broader question this panel raises: how do we measure effective governance, and what role does political rhetoric play in shaping public perception versus actual policy outcomes?
Hop in on the MAGA fracture really quickly, because one point that I think you missed is that people like Nick Fuentes or this America First movement are now going to be hardcore lobbying to get Marjorie Taylor Greene on their side, which will only accelerate this MAGA divide between a more, I don't know, anti-Israel, a more really populist movement versus now what's kind of becoming like the MAGA establishment, which is weird. So Nick Fuentes, he's a legitimate political operator. I know that he's like a hugely divisive dude online, but he is trying to make moves to gain leverage over the Republican Party. There is a very real chance that he capitalizes on this in such a way that Marjorie is then in his camp I don't think that would be good for the current MAGA establishment.
I think the fact that she is actually resigning and talking bad about, in the sense of like, I'm out of here. It is a fracture. This is a huge fracture. You can't say that this person who was so loyal to him isn't a fracture. Trending in the right direction, someone would disagree with that. They'd ask about affordability and groceries and all of the things that we're going to talk about, obviously. But you can't, people are not feeling that way right now.
I don't disagree, but I do think when we're talking about trending in the right direction, you're trending in the right direction when inflation is down under this president compared to last. Those are things that are moving in a positive direction. But I'm not disagreeing that the average Republican out there is saying, my grocery bills aren't going down that much, my gas bills haven't changed that much, so what are Republicans
We'll
doing?
talk a lot more about the economy in a little bit. I want to play a little bit more what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying lately. This was on Sunday. She was talking about the political climate that she's in. Listen.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another.
So, Joe, I mean, I really want to know your kind of analysis of that. Do you believe that's genuine? Do you see why she would take that stance and then decide, I can't battle it out in a Republican primary? Trump's going to be sicking like 5 or 6 people on me in the primary. No, thank you.
This is someone who probably went home to her district, over the last shutdown, looked around and realized that in 4 years in the House of Representatives, she has made almost no impact for her constituents. She has been divisive for the sake of being divisive.
But that has never been a problem. Explain that to me.
She learns it from Trump.
But hold on. But
I've also never said that she's this great person.
But don't you think her voters have never been, if that is true, I think Democrats would argue that is true. Republicans historically have not said that about her. But if that is true, and her voters didn't really care until this moment, what does that say?
Look, what I was going to say is compare her to someone like Jim Jordan, who some people find abrasive. But his pugilistic style is to come with facts, he brings receipts, and maybe he rubs people the wrong way.
The panelists cited Representative Jim Jordan as a contrasting example in this discussion about congressional effectiveness and political style. Jordan's legislative record and committee work are publicly documented and can be independently verified through congressional databases. Viewers interested in comparing different legislators' approaches can examine metrics like bill sponsorships, committee participation, and bipartisan collaboration scores available through nonpartisan tracking organizations. This exchange highlights how political figures are perceived differently across the ideological spectrum. What some view as principled leadership, others see as partisan obstruction. These divergent perspectives reflect the broader challenge of evaluating political effectiveness in our current environment.
But there's intention there, and there's a rationale. She just trolled people. She spent 4 years in the House of Representatives troll people for no reason. So,
she learned it from Trump.
Yeah,
Trump posts AI videos of Obama being arrested. Trump posts videos of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. Trump says
what's
that
so different that she decides?
Marjorie Taylor Greene's style is downstream from Trump's style. It's not unique in any way.
Trump does all those funny things with an objective.
They're not funny. The execution of Democrats is funny.
The sombrero thing, if I could put the sombrero on you, I think it's hysterical. Yeah,
why?
I think it's funny. I think it's fun. I think he's making fun of his opponents.
So what's the difference between what she does and what Trump does?
Exactly, you're defending it.
I think she does it for no purpose and for no gain, and she has nothing to show for it.
All right, we're gonna hit pause on this and continue.
This exchange reveals a fundamental disagreement about what constitutes effective congressional leadership. The panelists differed on whether political communication should prioritize policy solutions or include more combative rhetoric. The debate raises broader questions. What's the appropriate balance between political messaging and legislative work? How do we measure whether elected officials are serving their constituents effectively? And does the current political climate reward substantive governance or performative politics? These tensions within the Republican Party, between different communication styles and strategic approaches, reflect ongoing debates about the party's direction and priorities. Congressional voting records, bill sponsorships, and legislative outcomes are all publicly available for those wanting to evaluate their representatives' effectiveness beyond media appearances. What's your take on this discussion? How should we evaluate political effectiveness in today's environment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis valuable, please like and subscribe for more political coverage. I'm Insights Brief, and I'll see you in the next video.